big sound in a small town, far away from the big city lights, making music every night. Good music with all our friends. Tell everybody, tell your mama and them, we're going out and we're getting down. A big sound in a small town. A big sound in a small town. A big sound in a small town. A big sound in a small town.
Hi, and welcome to Big Sound Small Town. I'm your host, Sandy Carlton, and this is a podcast about the lives and stories of the musicians, writers, artists, and their associates that have their roots in the small towns and communities across America. If you like what you hear, tell somebody. Enjoy.
I'd like to do a song that I wrote recently, and I've been getting a lot of requests for it, so I thought, well, maybe these folks here could identify with it. My knees both pop like pistol shots, my face has lines and my hands have spots, and my eyebrows look like some old witch's broom. I sip Ensure instead of wine, 4:30's now my supper time. Remind me why I came into this room. I got receding hair, I got receding gums, my doctor can't be 21. When did my favorite snack become a prune? Long underwear, that's how I roll. I once was cool, now I'm just cold. Remind me why I came into this room. Getting old's not for the faint of heart. My resume may soon include greeter at Walmart. Well, I may not have a hip tattoo, but my hip replacement scar is cool. Remind me why I came into this room. Nose is red and my ears are hairy. My cholesterol count is downright scary. I recall when movies came with a cartoon. My sugar's high, my blood pressure's soaring, my back is screaming and my ears are roaring. Remind me why I came into this room. Getting old's not for the faint of heart. See, now my wife don't trust my driving, and I don't trust a fart. Well, it may sound crude, but I could read an entire novel while I pee. Remind me why I came into this room, but I don't remember. Remind me why I came into this room, but you're gonna have to speak up. Remind me why I came came into this room. Y'all ain't right. That's why I keep coming back here.
Okay.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Michael Reno Harrell. I'm in my studio in Burke County, North Carolina, here on a cool, crisp winter day.
Yeah, it's cool here too. Well, I'm glad to have you on the show.
Thanks, Sandy. It's a real treat, and we all appreciate what you're doing over there. It's a great thing for all of us. Thank you for all your interest in acoustic music over the years, and playing and promoting and all that you've done for it too.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a lot of pleasure for me outside of just the regular playing of music. It has brought me a lot of joy. So
well, it's a great community around here. It's the reason that Joan and I wound up in Burke County. We left Charlotte 15 years ago and knew where we were going because, Dale Meyer had played with me on the road for like 16 years. And I've done several recordings at his studio here in Morganton. And they're just, Patrick and Kay Crouch and all the people around here. There are just so many wonderful musicians. We knew we were coming home when we came to this part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Charlotte's a nice big city. Per capita, I don't know that they have the number of good musicians.
When I started, although they don't, I don't know if I've played in 45 states, I think, something like that, in several foreign countries. And other than Ireland, I've never found a community that has more musicians in it. And I'm talking about good musicians. I mean, you can put within 50 miles of where I'm sitting, you could put together 5 world-class bluegrass bands, a great jazz band,
I agree.
punk bands, you name it. It's not just acoustic music.
No,
it's everything.
There's a wide variety of music being, Burke, Cleveland, Rutherford County is just a hotbed for music.
Caldwell County.
County.
Patrick Crouch has recorded, I think, over 140 musicians just in Caldwell County.
Yeah.
I don't know where you'd buy a set of banjo strings in Charlotte.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I work out of the Earl Scruggs Center, and banjo is, this is a banjo town.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's, again, if you like music and finding your tribe and you're a musician, you need to come to this part of the world.
I agree. Plus, in your case, I mean, you have access to 40, which can take you to anywhere you need to go with ease.
That was a real priority for us when we decided to move here. We worked the road so much,
right,
the whole United States, and so we needed to be right on an interstate and a good one. And 40 runs almost from coast to coast, and we're an hour and 10 minutes from the front door of the Charlotte airport, and that was crucial. We had to live close to a good airport, so it worked out great for us.
Yeah, you can go to Asheville too, to the airport. I mean, you got good places to go either way to the airport.
Yeah.
So,
of course, Charlotte, it's a hub, so you can get anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Well, now,
and you don't have to get into Charlotte to get to the airport.
No, that's the good part. You really don't. It's really on the east side, outskirts of Charlotte, which is good.
Well, they built all the construction down there. They've made it really easy now to get in and out down there too.
That's true. It really is. Did you grow up near Burke County?
I'll tell you here's what I start all my shows with. More information than you require. I was conceived in North Carolina and born in Tennessee, so I'm bilingual. But all my roots are in Western North Carolina. We go back at least 7 generations in these mountains here. My mom's family's from Buncombe County. My dad's from Mitchell County.
Yeah,
so.
That's pretty much Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
Well, you certainly, with your songs, nailed down the lifestyle pretty well.
Well, I think a lot of us in the music, I'll just take you back to when I started. I think the first time I got paid, the first time I remember getting paid was 1963. So I've been at this a pretty long time, and I started out in what so many people lovingly refer to as the folk scare of the early 1960s, So I started out on, Pete Seeger and all that stuff. And,
Right.
And then, of course, Bob Dylan came along and proved that that a song doesn't have to be 150 years old to be a folk song.
True.
And I started out, just doing that, trying to get, little folk groups together when I was a freshman and a sophomore. When I was a sophomore in high school, though, folk music was still big. It was before the Beatles came, so
Right.
Folk music was still on the radio and that. But I was a freshman in high school and started playing the guitar. There were 3 guys in my high school, and they called themselves the Green Mountain Trio. Yeah. And they were probably, them and the Gentrymen from Knoxville were the 2 biggest folk trios in at least East Tennessee. Ah. They played all the fraternity parties at UT and hootenannies and coffee houses and all that. A lot of college shows. And they graduated when I was a sophomore in high school. They all graduated from high school, and one of them went on to college, and the other 2 decided they were going to stay with the music. And there was a slot open, and I had learned the Travis pick by then.
Oh, okay.
And I auditioned for the slot because I could do that alternating thumb thing.
Right.
I've been listening to Doc,
Mm-hmm.
I got the gig. So from the time I was a sophomore, every weekend I was gone. I was on the road. And my parents, had a little $30 classical guitar at that time, Japanese guitar. And my parents, I came home from school when I was a sophomore. I never forget, we had to show our report cards at the dinner table, I had 3 brothers, and we all had to show our report cards when we came into dinner on report card day.
Right.
And I was sitting there, and I was the last one, and my dad finally said, "All right, Michael, where is it?" And I said, "Well, I went in my bedroom and got it, brought it in there," and he opened it up and looked at it, studied it for a minute, looked at my mother and said, "We need to get Michael a better guitar." And so they went out and bought me a 1963, brand new 1963 Martin D21.
Wow.
That I still have to this day.
That was a great guitar to get. Yeah.
Oh, it's still one of the best guitars I've ever owned. And that's not just my opinion. People tell me that all the time. I don't take it on the road much anymore. I mean, I might play it at the National Storytelling Festival or something. But
speaking of guitars, let me ask you something. I was in a recording studio in Charlotte one time, and you were there. And did you have a leather-covered guitar that you had taken the leather covering off and discovered it?
No, but I had an old 1950 D28
that
I got from Danny Bishop up in Asheville.
Right.
That I played for a long time. It had a tortoiseshell pickguard on it, and it was beat all to crap. It looked like somebody drug it down the street with a truck or something. But that was my guitar for a long time.
Okay.
Somebody had put wood filler in the top where it had been pick eaten up so much,
right.
And Jack Lawrence used to call it Bondo Buddy.
Good old Jack.
But that's probably the guitar you remember.
Yeah, I think it probably is. Yeah, I think it is. Okay, so you're a real musician and you're still in high school.
Yeah. And I stayed with those boys even when I got out of high school. And of course, once the Beatles came, folk music pretty much died out.
It did.
So we went where the big money was. We went into bluegrass.
Yeah, that's the big money.
Dave Carlson traded his long neck Pete Seeger banjo for a RB250 master plan that we were off and running.
Yeah,
I bought a mandolin from Roger Sprung, and we became a bluegrass band.
That's funny.
Hired our bass player. But yeah, and then after that, James Taylor was out, and acoustic music there was some acoustic music
coming back, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And James Taylor and people like that. And so I started, playing seafood restaurants in Murrells Inlet, South Carolina, and Florida, and up and down the East Coast doing a single. And then in about 1980, I moved to moved to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and started a 7-piece country band, show band, with a girl singer and a B3 and all kind of stuff. And we had house gig down there. We played 6 nights a week, 5 sets a night. So
Lord,
that was my country learning.
I'd say it was. Yeah.
And we did about 30% original songs that I'd written. And then after that, I went back to doing the singles and traveled around and did all kind of different things, playing music off and on. Then I moved to Nashville in the late 80s and got a job down there writing for Bob Dole.
Right.
And got my first platinum record and my last platinum record. And they're both hanging right there on the wall in the same frame. It's the same record.
That's funny.
But and then I got sort of, I had an epiphany, as I tell people. Bob Dole was, he had me and Buddy Munlock and somebody else I can't remember. Kim Williams was writing for him some, and he had 2 artists. He had Buddy Munlock and Garth Brooks.
Yeah, one of those turned out pretty well.
Yeah, one of them made him some money, didn't he?
Yeah, he made a little bit.
But
yeah.
I had an epiphany one day. I walked into Bob's office, and he said, "Michael, sit down here. Let's have a talk." I said, "What is it, Bob?" He said, "You're not going to have to write country music." And he was right. I wasn't. I just wasn't a Nashville songwriter. I just tried, but I never could get much of a foothold down there. And I said, "Well, Bob," he said, "No," he said, "I'm not saying your songs are not really good. I really like your songs, or I wouldn't have signed you. But," he said, "it's just not what the radio seems to be looking for now." He said, "You need to be singing your own songs." I said, "Bob, I tried that for 30 years, and nobody wants to hear me sing my songs. They want to hear me sing Jimmy Buffett's songs."
Right, yeah.
And so I moved to Charlotte, put my guitar under the bed, and it stayed there for 2 years. I never flipped the latch on the case for 2 years. I was through. And then about 1994, late 94, a band called the Rank Outsiders.
Yeah, I know Bill really well. Yeah.
They were starting to happen, and one of my best friends, Tom Coon, was the bass player for
Yeah.
them, and he kept saying, "Man, why don't you get together with us and we'll try to write some songs?" I said, "I don't write songs anymore." And he said, "Well, come sit in with us, and we're writing our own songs and see what you think about what we're doing." And they were playing at a place called the Bayou Kitchen, and I went in and sat in with them. And at the end, I said, "I'll do one set, and that's it," because,
Right.
And tell you what I think of your stuff, So I went up there and played one set, and I was getting ready to take a break, and Bill Noonan said, "And now here's Michael Reno Harrell to sing one of his songs." They left the stage and left me standing up there. So I did that, and this girl I'd been seeing at work had come to see. When I told her, she didn't even know I ever played music.
Oh, yeah.
I told her I was sitting in with a band, couldn't have dinner with her that night before we usually had dinner. So she came over there and packed up my guitar, and I said, "Y'all are doing great. Don't change a thing. Just keep doing what you're doing." Walked out the door with her. We went to an Indian restaurant and sat down, and she said, "Did you really write that song?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Do you write any more songs?" I said, "About 5,000. Why?" And she said, "Well, you ought to be playing your songs." I said, "That's a long story, I said, "I've tried that for 30 years or whatever." And she said, "Well, if I can find you places to play, will you go play?" And I said, "I'll go every place you can find me to play." And that's been over 25 years ago, and I've been every place she's found me so far, and it's been thousands. So
That's great. I mean,
but we were lucky in the beginning because one Sunday, Bill Noonan, bless his heart, got me and David Childers and a band called Lou Ford that was hot in town at that time.
That. Yeah.
And Doubting Thomas.
Oh, yeah, I know
and
those
Lenny
people.
Federal's band.
Yeah, I know Lenny too.
We all met at the Double Dorian one cold, rainy winter Sunday and decided that there would be strength in numbers. And why didn't we get together? Because Doubting Thomas had Tuesday nights a regular house gig at the Double Door, and they were drawing up to 3 or 4 people a night.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we thought, well, maybe if we can get to, we'll do a sort of a showcase every Tuesday night and sort of rotate around. Many of us want to play, and maybe we can pool our audiences and sort of cross-pollinate the audiences. I didn't have any audience to speak of at that time. I was playing places like the Full Circle Cafe in Waynesville. And so I put a band together, and it came down to really just 4 of us that stayed with it right from the beginning. And we did a kid called the Americana Showcase, and we found this guy, Greg McGraw, who said, he was a chemical engineer at that time, said, Tuesday night, major bands are begging for any place to play. So if we can give them 2 motel, and make enough money to give them 2 motel rooms and $200, we can get. And we were getting every major Americana act in the country was playing there. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had Fred Eaglesmith and on and on and on.
Right.
And so we just started opening for them. Well, my boys didn't want to drive. My band was from up in this area, and they didn't want to drive down there every Tuesday night. We didn't get paid anything. So I just started doing it as a single. And MCing the show and that. And anyway, we made our first Nashville. I made 3 Tennessee records. The first record I made, we self-produced and recorded at a friend's studio in Tennessee. And then the next one, we borrowed $25,000 and went at it. And that record went to number 16 in the nation, and the next one went to number 11. And we were off and running.
That's great.
And Joan was doing the booking, and Greg Hills, the original, you knew Greg, I'm sure, the original
yes, I do.
programmer at WNCW had 2 acts. He had me and Seconds Flat.
Yep.
We tore it up.
Well, he actually had a band I was in for a while. Greg did, Mama Said.
Yeah, Mama Said. That's
and we
right.
did. We played those Double Door Americana shows, and actually, Greg McGraw, I taught him the first song he ever learned on a guitar when he was a kid.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a pretty small circle, but yeah, that was some good times. The Charlotte music scene was probably as good then as it's ever been.
Well, it was just starting then. There was the reason we went together was because nobody could draw a crowd. There were hardly any places to play in Charlotte.
True.
Downtown was just. I mean, you could go downtown on Sunday and shoot a pistol and nobody would look at you because there wasn't anybody to see you. There was nothing going on.
Right.
Other than the neighborhood theater hadn't started, none of those places had started.
It was just the Double Door for the most part.
That was it. That's the reason we were all playing there.
Yeah.
But we, it got us all going. We did that Known on the Underground CD.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that really gave us all a kick,
That was actually
a lot of airplay.
That was a good CD too. I mean, that really was. It did showcase what you guys all did.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Well, then, so I guess at some point during this time is when you decide to move out of Charlotte.
We moved. April will be 16 years since we moved up here. Yeah. Wow. And we had a bus and a band, and we were traveling, and it occurred to me that what I was doing wasn't exactly what I wanted to be doing.
Right.
Because running a band is a whole job in itself.
Oh, it is. It's terrible.
And all that stuff.
Yes, it is.
And I had 2 guys from here, Dale Meyer and Toby Watkins, were playing with me at that time. And they'd take their vacation days and all that. And we'd leave like on a Thursday and get back in Sunday night or Monday morning in time for them to go to work.
Right.
And we were riding home one night and everybody was asleep except Joan and I were sitting up in the front of the bus I was driving. She was in the jump seat, and I looked at her and I said, "I've been thinking about something." She said, "What is it?" I said, "If you bought a ticket to go see John Prine and you went and he didn't have a band, would you care?" And she said, "No." And I said, "We're selling this bus and letting the boys find something else to do." And ever since then, I've been a single. And then David Holt's been a long-time friend of mine. I met David in 1969 when he first came to Asheville. We met at the Asheville Mountain Dance and Folk Festival, and we were writing songs while he was doing that Legacy album with Doc. And we were down at his place on the coast at Seabrook Island writing songs for his Let It Slide record, I think. Coming out. And he said, "Man, you ought to get into storytelling." And I said, I don't know anything about storytelling. What are you talking about? I knew he did shows for kids, among other things. I thought that's what he was talking about. I said, "I don't know anything about it." And he said, "Well, you'd be good at it." I said, "But I don't have any stories." He said, "Your song introductions are longer than your songs. I'd say you're a storyteller."
Yeah, he's kind of right.
I was on tour in Texas. I was doing, I think, the Houston Folk Society or something. And I got back in the motel room and got that little card for the TV channels to see where PBS was, thinking maybe maybe Austin City Limits was on or something, And I turned it on, and there was this little old lady standing in a tent, a big old pavilion kind of tent, talking about taking piano lessons when she was a kid in a little town called Thomasville, Alabama. And it was the most mesmerizing thing I'd ever seen. This tent was packed with people that were sitting there just quiet as they could be, listening to this lady tell this story. And at the end, it said, "You've been listening to excerpts from the National Storytelling Festival in Jonesboro, Tennessee." And I grew up 53 miles from that tent and never heard of it. And I called Joan and told her, but it's probably 2 o'clock in the morning here. I said, wherever this National Storytelling Festival is, whenever it is, cancel what we got because we're going. She just said, "Sure," and hung up, And then next year we were there, and 2 years later I was on the main stage.
That's great. I mean,
and it changed my life more than anything I've ever done, was luckily turning on that television that night, because storytelling has been my bread and butter for the last 15 years. Really. I mean, I still do a lot of music shows, but nowhere. Storytelling is, it's got me, I've done the Cowboy Poetry Gathering in Elko, Nevada.
Yeah.
That got me into the cowboy world, and I'm not a cowboy, but storytelling,
Yeah, I do.
So anyway, that's sort of
that has been one of the most entertaining things that I have learned about you. I've followed you doing that because I'm a collector of stories, and I really like stories, and I just thought that was pretty neat how you just kind of parlayed that. And I didn't know how you did that. I had no idea how how that came to be.
Well, I went at it the way you would go about the music business. Joan and I got together. We didn't know anything about how to book storytelling gigs. It turns out it's a lot like being in a bluegrass band. in that, almost all the work is festival work.
Oh, and festivals is great work, really. I mean,
it is. It's wonderful. But in the storytelling world, they treat you like you're somebody. They think you're important. When I leave to do a storytelling festival, I don't spend a penny from the time I leave till I get home. They buy your airplane tickets. They rent you hotel rooms. They put you up. They feed you. It's incredible.
I guess no one really realizes that,
Well, those of us who do it realize it.
Yeah.
It's a really niche market, because a lot of people don't even know what it is.
Right.
They've never been to a real storytelling event and heard real, professional storytellers tell stories.
I had actually been over to the one, the first one you talked about. I actually stumbled on that by accident one time and thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever been to.
Yeah, at Jonesboro?
Yeah, at Jonesboro. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the national. It's the first one. It got started really funny. A high school teacher was riding in a car with 5 students, and Jerry Clower was on the radio.
Yeah.
This would have been about 1970 or 71. The first festival was 73. And he said, bluegrass festivals are taking off. We ought to have a storytelling festival and have that guy. And the first the first storytelling festival ever was in Jonesboro, Tennessee, at the high school on a Saturday night, and it was Jerry Clower, and his opener was Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys.
Oh, really?
And they announced just on the cuff, if anybody out there in the audience has a story they want to tell, let's meet at the Courthouse Square tomorrow at 2:00. And anybody that wants to can get up and tell the story. And so somebody went and got Ray Hicks, up Beach Mountain to tell Jack Tales. And a bunch of people got together. There were 60 people about showed up. And the guy that started it said, wait a minute, this is what a storytelling festival ought to be. And they had these funny names for it. They kicked around a bunch of like Kickapoo and stuff like that, And somebody said, well, nobody's using it. Why don't we just call ourselves the National Storytelling Festival? And that's how they got started.
I mean, playing in Jonesboro is how I actually found out about it. It was just one of those by accident things that I thought, boy, this is too cool.
Doing music on the square for Steve Cook, probably.
Yeah, it was exactly. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And
I played 20 of those probably over the years.
Yeah, I mean that was a good job too. I mean I enjoyed that too, but it was really cool to find out about the storytelling. Now, of recent I've seen that you're in the art world. So
well, when I came home off the road, Friday the 13th, I should have known. Friday the 13th of March, I'd done a festival in LaGrange, Georgia, one of my favorite storytelling festivals, and was there all week. And then stopped in Tennessee at a buddy of mine's studio, and we mixed some YouTube videos, and some videos I had a channel on the All Guitar Network, and came home and that was it. We had the storytelling world. You book 2 and 3 years out, so I mean, we lost 150 shows at least, just almost overnight. So I thought, well, I need to find something to do. So I went back to my artwork, and I sold 3 last week. I shipped out. We've got one down there that she's shipping out tomorrow.
Well, I saw it. I was amazed when I saw it.
Just doing headstocks.
No, really?
I call them peghead portraits. I've done, banjos and F5 mandolins and Tony Rice's. I just did one of Tony Rice's guitar.
Yeah, I know. How long did that last before you sold it?
About 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I saw that and I thought, oh man, I need that. So yeah, okay, take me back. You just didn't wake up on Friday the 13th and were able to draw like that, I'm sure.
No, when I started I don't remember when I started drawing preschool. I always wanted to draw, and when I haven't played music, I've made my living in my life as a graphic designer. I've worked in sign companies. I ran an art room for a big sign company in the Northeast in Baltimore, Bill Singer Signs, and we did all kind of big stuff. We did Orioles Stadium. We did the Inner Harbor. We did Baltimore Washington Airport. Did the United Terminal at O'Hare Airport.
Yeah, it's pretty big stuff. Yeah.
So I drew. I've made my living with a guitar pick and a pencil my whole life.
Well, I tell you what, your attention to detail is just fabulous. When I first saw the ones you put up, it was like, what? I just couldn't, I was just unaware of that part too.
You can find it all at michaelreno.com.
There you go. So, there you go. Listen up, listeners. You need to know that.
Just go to michaelreno.com, and it's gotten so big now that we're starting a new web page just for the art. That'll just be michaelrenoart.com.
.com. Yeah.
But everything I've done is pretty much up there. I do a lot of commissions.
Yeah.
People, I'm doing portraits now. So a lot of the stuff that I did, I was piled up before Christmas just doing commissions for portraits and things, people's kids, that sort of thing.
Right.
So a lot of that stuff I couldn't put up because they didn't want people
I understand
to
that.
know what their Christmas present might be.
Yeah.
Oh, I went to Michael Reno's site and there's a picture of me.
Sure.
So anyway.
Well,
So,
I mean, I'm impressed, and I guess that this is a good time to be doing that. I mean,
well, it's kept me. I mean, every day is Groundhog Day, you know,
right?
anymore.
Yeah,
So I get up in the morning, you know, have my coffee. Jonah and I talk about, you know, what she's up to as far as she's in the art selling business now more than booking, you know.
Yeah.
Although we're still doing Zoom shows and that sort of thing.
right.
So, but then I come up here and go to work, and I spend most of my day either looking for something I want to draw or drawing, you know. So that's, I still play guitar and I still write songs, but, you know, I want to keep my hand in for maybe when this is calmed down enough that we can all get back out in the
Yeah.
world, you know.
Oh yeah, and it pays the bills, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I mean,
Well, it's been you know, this whole COVID thing has been horrible in so many ways, and it's still horrible in so many ways.
I agree.
But if there's any upside to it, it's, you know, I got back to doing visual art, and that's saved my life. You know?
Yeah, I think podcast has helped me too during this time.
Sure.
You know,
we all need some way to
sure,
be creative.
You
know,
do.
Those of us who are.
And you know, I was kind of really tickled when you decided you were good with doing this by phone. I have done. They were pretty strict at the Earl Scruggs Center, and I have actually done some in-person stuff. But,
Well, I just watched the one with Roger Paget. That was great.
Yeah.
It's great to see Roger. Boy, he's looking good. You know, I did 2 benefits for him. I thought we were going to buy him a casket.
yeah,
We all
I did too.
As a matter of fact, I'm wearing my Cleveland Music T-shirt right now.
That's really great. I'm sure. You know, Roger, he struggled, and actually, Roger, he shot one not feeling well, and I didn't want to use it, and he you know, he got in touch with me and asked could he do another one, and he did. And that day that we did that, we actually had songs from the Road Band, that started out being a Mark Shimmick interview, and he brought the whole band with him. So we shot them and we shot Roger on the same day. But I think people were glad to get a chance to look at Roger to see that he is alive and
He's
close to
such
well.
a talented guy, and such a passionate musician.
Yeah.
You know, when I would do Plum Hall or Tater Fest, you know.
Right, yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Sorry, I picked up the phone and hit the quit button.
Oh, that's no problem. It was okay. That works. It'll add some flavor.
Yeah. Well, when I would do Tater Fest or something, Roger would always play guitar with me, and we never ever rehearsed anything. But he's always been a fan of mine. I've been a fan of his. And you would think we played together, you know, all the time because he's just such a great guitar player. He feels it, he hears it. You know, he's just, you know, he's a perfect example of what kind of talent there is in this part of the world, and the reason that Jonah and I moved here.
Yeah. Oh, he is.
Yeah.
He's played in the iconic bands from Cleveland County.
I met
That's
Roger when he was running the music store there in Shelby years ago. I was on the way to WNCW, living in Charlotte, to do an on-air years ago, and I was driving up 74 and saw that sign, Cleveland Music, and I went in, and there's this guy, and he's standing there and right behind him is this picture of this hair band.
Oh yeah.
And there's him, you know, and I'm like, well, this guy ain't going to know anything about what I'm interested in. And he picked up a D28 and started playing it, and I went, wait a minute, that's you in that picture with that metal band?
And he was a fine metal player too.
Oh, I know. He's just, he hears it, you know. He's the consummate guitar man.
He is. He's you know, he is.
But again, you know, this country is loaded with
it is
really fine musicians and people that really, really care. And again, I've traveled all over, and I've never found any place that has a music culture like here.
No, there's not. I have too, and it's not. I mean, that's just not. I guess I guess musicians here realize it's here, but if you're not, you know, and you just throw in something like WNCW, which is supportive of a music community that a lot of places don't have.
They've been really great to promote local musicians.
They have.
You know, they always have, you know, local color and all those things that they've done over the years. They've been great to support the music scene here. Mm-hmm. And then you got Metcalf, you know, that did all that stuff at Green Acres all those years. And, you know, there's just a lot of history here too. And of course you got, my God, you got Earl Scruggs.
Yep, you do. I mean, and
if you know, there's very few genres of music that you can put your very finger on the very hour that it started. Yeah. And it's when Earl Scruggs, you know, on December 18th auditioned for Bill Monroe.
Yeah, I mean,
and Bill hired him. That's what the very instant that bluegrass music started.
It is really. I mean, that did change everything.
Oh, it was. I can't think of another musician who's made a bigger impact. Tony Rice made a huge impact in acoustic music. You know, there are a lot of people. Grisman.
Grisman.
There are a lot of people, but Earl Scruggs really he set the music on fire.
He did. He really did.
I mean, it's like Ricky Skaggs said. You know, there were kids, young men all over the country listening to the Grand Ole Opry, going, "That's what I want to do." It's like people heard Chuck Berry. You know?
Yeah, it is.
I want to do that.
Right. I mean,
you know, suddenly the 5-string banjo became popular.
It did, and you know, I know that there's been times people thought that bluegrass and particularly banjo music would disappear, but it's still pretty strong today.
Oh, bluegrass music will go on and on and on. It's but you got people like Sierra Hull,
you do,
Molly Tuttle, all these. You know, when I was growing up and adhering to the Monroe Doctrine, as we called it, there were two women in bluegrass music, Gloria Bell and you know, maybe one or two others that played bass, maybe.
Yeah,
Jimmy
they played bass sometimes.
You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But boy, Molly Tuttle I'm her biggest fan.
She is really wonderful. I agree.
And she's branching out, taking it to places that I saw Alison Krauss when she was 14. I swear to God, I don't think she's any better now. And she's phenomenal. She was phenomenal then.
I agree.
So, you know, women in bluegrass music have really made a huge difference in bluegrass and you know, taking it to places, you know, the traditional music is still alive and well, but then, you know, Sam Bush and those guys took it to a different level.
They did. Yes, they did.
You know, and then Chris Thiele picked it up and took it somewhere else. So
I agree.
You know, I've heard my whole life, I mean, since my uncle played bass with the Lugan Brothers and then with Jimmy Dickens for years.
That's great.
And I've heard for years from old guys, this music they're playing now is not country music.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've
heard that I heard it in the 50s. I heard it in the 60s. I heard it in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and until today. But the thing that people don't realize is music is never static.
No, it's not.
Music is always changing. So you may as well just accept that and go, okay.
Oh, I agree.
You know,
I agree.
Classic country music is still around.
It is.
You know.
And it's still as good as it was at the time. You know, so I mean, you know, I think you have to embrace what's there because it's still a beautiful thing.
There's why draw a circle around yourself and say I can't step outside this?
I agree.
I would never become a storyteller, or you know.
Yeah, I'd never become a podcaster.
Never become a solo artist.
Right.
You know?
I mean, it's I'm also noticing a lot of young female fiddlers these days.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of them, and they're good. I mean, they're really good. In fact, I just did Betsy Buller, and she's a 10-time IBMA award winner. I mean.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, Molly here, you know, is Marley Bartlett is as good a fiddle player as I've ever heard.
I agree totally.
She's got so much blues in her play, and it's just soul. I mean, Danny Bishop's daughter Danielle is as good a fiddle player as there is anywhere.
There's a girl.
And she was when she was 7.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of them, and they're good. I mean, they really are, and in demand. They can actually work now. For years, they might be good musicians, but they didn't get to work probably like they should.
Yeah, you had to be. Well, it's like girls in country music.
Yeah.
You had to be the girl singer in somebody's band for years.
Right.
Dolly Parton said, "Well, I did that for 7 years. Let's try something else."
Yeah.
Loretta Lynn, those people that said,
Sure.
I think I can do this, and did.
And
I mean, Patsy Cline, people that said, "Nah, women can do this too."
Yeah, and they can.
You doggone right they can.
I mean,
if you don't believe it, listen to Molly Tuttle play the dang guitar.
I agree.
Or listen to Sierra Ho play the mandolin.
Mandolin, yeah.
On and on and on.
Right. So, it's a wonderful thing. What else we need to know?
MichaelReno.com, I guess, that'll tell you. And I got a YouTube channel, all that stuff. But I think all we need to know is as soon as you can, support live music again.
I agree. I totally agree. Well,
it's going to be a different world. It's not going to be the same.
No.
It's never going to be the same. But that just means that, we got other things to do now, But,
yeah. Well, I think the Zoom and live streaming stuff will be a part of music for probably from this point forward for a while.
Well, the whole record industry is gone.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
There's no money in recordings anymore.
Right, I agree.
So that's not stopped live music, though.
No, it hasn't. And,
but it's a whole different world.
It's a whole different world, and we're living a part of history, that's for sure.
Yeah, technology's changed our world so much.
Yep, it really has. Man, you have been an interesting interview.
Well, thanks. It's been a lot of. It's not hard to get. It's not hard to get a lot of talking going on when you get two guitar freaks together.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not. But your story is really unique and interesting, and I do appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Well, again, we all appreciate you taking your time to do this podcast stuff. It's, that's one of the new things where information is so. When I was growing up, just a quick thing here. When I was growing up, I remember the first issue of Bluegrass Unlimited. I was at the first Bluegrass Festival in Fincastle in '65, and Pete Kuykendall was there handing out the first issue of Bluegrass Unlimited, and it was a mimeograph sheet of paper.
That's
so
cool.
I mean, there wasn't anywhere to find out where anything was happening or to know about, music other than Sing Out Magazine. Bluegrass Unlimited came along, and those things. Now, if you wanted to learn a song, you had to go buy an album. And in my little hometown, there wasn't anywhere to buy any of the albums I wanted.
Right.
And nowhere to order them because there wasn't any online.
Right, there wasn't.
So it was just a struggle. I was at Galax one year, and there was a guy by the name of Stanley Balk from Chicago, we just sort of met up because we both had hats that we each liked. And he was finger picking this song called the St. Louis Tickle.
Yeah, I know that song. Yeah.
Basically Piedmont blues.
Yep.
I said, "Where'd you learn that?" He said, "A friend of mine had it on a record, and we figured it out." Now, if I had come home to East Tennessee and decided I'm going to learn everything there is about Piedmont blues, I would have no idea where in the world I would ever find a recording or anything about it. I didn't know who Mississippi John Hurt was. Right. I didn't know who Gary Davis was. I didn't know any of that. Now, if you wanted to get 30 feet deep into klezmer music, it's all there for you.
It is. It really is.
I mean, you could all tell you could tell all of us guys who were trying to learn to play like Doc by just looking at the Doc Watson records and looking where the grooves were worn out.
Oh, that's how I learned 99% of the stuff.
We all did.
Drop the needle. Yep.
But now you can go online and you can see Doc play it.
Oh yeah.
Over and over and over.
And you can find somebody to break it down note per note for you.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful. I mean, it is wonderful. I'm glad people don't have to.
The record business, but look what it gave everybody.
True. This is true.
And when we started out, there was no internet to book gigs on.
No.
If you wanted to play at the Moon Dance in Choco Bottoms up there in Richmond, the only venue in Richmond to play, you had to call up there on Wednesday between 1 and 3 o'clock, because that's the only time they booked music, because the rest of the time they were running a restaurant.
Right.
And you'd call maybe 7 times before the line wouldn't be busy, and then the guy would say, yeah, send us a package, and you'd send them a package and wait 2 weeks and call back, and it would take you 4 weeks to get back to the guy, and then he'd say, yeah, I've got it here on my desk, but I hadn't listened to it yet. It might take you 4 months and 12 phone calls to book one gig in Richmond.
True.
Now, the internet, you just go on the internet, send them an email or a PM on Facebook and say, I'd like to play there.
Right.
Here's my YouTube channel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's wonderful. I mean, it's easy.
But the thing about it is, if it made it easy for us, it made it easy for everybody. So
True.
There's still, but at least you can find places to play.
You can.
And how to play.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you can see how other people are doing their stuff.
Are you planning on doing an interview with Joan?
Yes, I am.
Folks, if you want to learn how to book a band and manage a band, check out. My wife Joan will tell you all that stuff. She learned it from the ground up. When I met Joan, she didn't know who Doc Watson or Bill Monroe were.
Well, she
was a jazz fan, but she believed in me, and just through that, she kept me on the road for 25 years doing over 200 shows a year. So.
That's what I've been trying to do. Is there's more to a music community than just the musicians and the artists themselves. Yes,
well,
I'm going to talk to her. It's
called the music business for a reason.
Right.
Because without it's it's like it's Verlin Thompson, my good buddy Verlin Thompson says this business we call show and this show we call business.
That's right.
Without the business there ain't no show.
True.
So that should be an interesting interview for you.
I'm looking forward to that. I also have another facet of it coming up this week with Joe Kendrick, who is the program director at WNCW now, which people need to know how that works too.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, Joan will be good. I'm looking forward to that. You can tell her I'm looking really forward to it.
Well, it'll be her first interview because she doesn't normally like to talk. But I said, but it's just talking on the phone. She said, well, I can do that. Yeah,
I think she can.
But you can't get her to stand on the stage and say, check 1, 2 into a microphone.
She told me that. That she's pretty good if it's one-on-one. But she said after that, and
she'll be good for you.
I'm sure she will. I'm looking forward to it. And I enjoyed this so much. Thank you. And all right, it's michaelrenoharrell.com. Look it up. Support him.
Just michaelreno.com.
Oh, just michaelreno.com.
Well, actually, there's a michaelrenoharrell.com that'll get you there, too. It takes you to the same place, but it's easier.
Okay.
Michael Reno, Reno, just like Nevada.
Right. That sounds good. All right. I thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
All right.
Everybody have a good year.
Yep, hope we do. A new year. That's always brings hope.
Yeah.
Well, I spent a lot of time around a campfire, spinning yarns and listening to the songs of hounds. And I spent a lot of time around tall buildings, and I don't mind telling you what I have found. I found that wood smoke and laughter and a good joke in the company of legendary liars, and a story well recited by a fire has delighted both young and old since we discovered fire. It was me and Sam and Stover and Tom Harmon around a fire with those old men when I was a kid. And their stories on the wind like leaves of autumn. Then Stover said, "Son, you tell a story." And I did. 'Cause I knew that wood smoke and laughter and a good joke in the company of legendary liars, and a story well recited by a fire has delighted both young and old since we discovered fire. Some evening when the moon is big and shining, you don't need foxhounds, all you need's a kid. Build a fire if it's only in the backyard, and then tell stories and you'll both be glad you did. You'll find that wood smoke and laughter and a good joke, and you too can be a legendary liar, because a story well recited by a fire has delighted both young and old since we discovered fire. Anybody got a match? Bluebirds like to live in little boxes, so I built them a home with my own hands. Now the blues know better than to come around here, 'cause bluebirds won't give blues a place to land. If you've got trouble, you should try it. Get yourself a hammer and some wood, 'cause if you build houses for the bluebirds, your luck will turn around from bad to good. So get yourself a hammer and some wood. You know, trouble used to be my close companion. Hard times had become my stock in trade. But since the day the bluebirds came to live here, I gotta say the blues have stayed away. If you've got trouble, you should try it. Get yourself a hammer and some wood, 'cause if if you build houses for the bluebirds, your luck will turn around from bad to good. So get yourself a hammer and some wood. So anytime the road gets rough and rocky, just remember you know what to do. Spend a little time working with some pine, and you'll be singing bye-bye to the blues. If you've got trouble, you should try it. Get yourself a hammer and some wood. 'Cause if you build houses for the bluebirds, your luck will turn around from bad to good. So get yourself a hammer and some wood, and get some bluebirds in your neighborhood.